Yeah, I am live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to, I don't even know what we're calling this. Basically, I'll be doing these in the mornings. We got 100% vote, right? So 100% of the people voted said they want this type of content, market opening. So this is market opening, specifically the London session number one. And basically, you guys are just seeing me drill through my everyday routine. I do this normally around 7 a.m., right? But just so it is more impactful, we can do it just before the opening, normally at 8:30, but I did run late with Wealthy in the 365 Man Heist podcast. So I was doing the last chapter of a very important book today that we've been dealing with it. So that's why I ran late. I do apologize. Right. So I trust I'm audible. If anyone is going to be joining us live, I hope you can hear me loud and clear. All this is me trying to teach people how to build good trading habits. You want to create very good trading habits, in the long run. You want to be able to know, especially for intraday traders, because intraday traders have a very tough job. You have to combat the forces of the markets on a day-to-day basis, hour to hour, and you almost have to be right. And there's like almost it's a simple routine personally, right, that I've kind of like built over the time that will match with a lot of the supply and demand stuff that I start with. But you almost need to do some level, right? So we'll do like just a very a clean, easy to follow level of scenario analysis in these live sessions together. They will run for about 30 minutes, and then everyone can go off and have a good day. Like, first thing you need to know is when markets opening sessions are the most volatile. You are competing with closing orders from the previous trading day, number one, closing orders from the previous trading session, all right, number two, and all these things can completely impact, right, how the markets open, not forgetting the desired institutional targets of the day. Those desires, obviously driven by institutional traders, Wall Street, and also, the joys and tears of always having retail traders in the markets on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so that's kind of like the stuff that you need to kind of like look out for in every market open. So most people advise you differently. Some people will tell you, clear, thanks, man, thank you for the mic check there. Some people will tell you that don't trade, in the opening session. Wait for about an hour to 30 minutes. Some people will tell you when the best time is after the orders have gone in. So the orders of the day are still being run up right now by brokers and all sorts of people. And so people say after the orders of the day are done, maybe about 2 hours into the London session. So London session for me in South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Zambia, all of us here. It would open around about Lesotho, Swaziland, students in the south, in the SADC countries really of Africa, opens at about 9 a.m., right? And Kenya, that's 10 a.m. for you guys. But at the very least, right, they say wait until about 10, 11. For me, those of you who know me well, I'm a swing trader. So it honestly doesn't matter. I don't care. Like if I am in positions when I'm asleep. I'm in positions when I wake up. AUD, USD, 15-minute supply, NTP got triggered while I was asleep or working on stuff. I mean, I just woke up and sent out the analysis. We set up the set and forget trade on the 11th of February, got triggered sometime last night, and first take profit was hit sometime this morning. All right. So it's for me, it's completely the markets and the way the markets move on an intraday time frame are completely irrelevant to me. But those of you who are trying to polish, let's start here. So this is all free stuff. I'm trying to use all the free resources. I simply typed in trade review heat map. This is called the currency heat map. And what this heat map does is it just lets you know in relation to so and so what is weak, what is strong. So euro is slightly weak against the dollar. Euro is almost equal to AUD right now, right? So it's like 0.01. And we'll talk about these percentages, which percentage difference really matters. Like you can see the shading of the color of this heat signature also variably always shows you the strength, right? So this is really, really weak at 0.27% compared to 0.01, right? So there might be a very interesting imbalance for the day there, right? And so forth. Green means obviously such and such is stronger than the other. All right, so this is just a simple currency heat map that I love to glance at. I love to kind of like just look right across the board. Dollar is stronger than euro, dollar is stronger than AUD, slightly weaker than the pound, really weak here, etc., etc. And I just get a feel of the market. My real routine is really based on trying to catch up with what happened last night when I was asleep. So I'm talking about the Asian market session. And what I do is, and I've told my students this, and I don't know how many of them do it, it's very important to glance over these headlines. Absolutely important, right? It's because you just don't know everything that's going on in the world. And we rely a lot on some type of community of massively well built financial analysts to just give us these headlines. You don't want to take the trading idea. That's always my advice. You do what you want. You can open these articles, read in depth. What I want to do is just to know, especially for intraday traders, because this is going to affect you more than it's going to affect someone like me who might be in a position from 2 weeks ago and still holding. This is going to be what's going to rock your world today as prices moving, from left to right. So you got Switzerland generally balanced, right? That's fine. Not a big deal. Trade ideas. I never opened his trade ideas. Ukraine denies shelling separatist positions in the East Ukraine. All right. So Ukraine and Russia, still some tension. Ukraine is now denying some type of accusation. Cool. Crypto market has pushed up from support, right? I don't know what support they're referring to. The biggest anti-Bitcoin person in the world who actually matters in the financial markets is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett said the integral value of Bitcoin is zero. Warren Buffett is one of those people I tell you about who reads 500 pages of financial literature every day. Man literally goes to work to read, at least for the first 6 to 7, 8 hours of his working day. That's why the podcast is the most important thing that I'm doing with my life, and I want it to remain free because all I am doing is reading really good books. I once again, this man makes his millions and billions because he comes with his very smart, articulate investing behaviors because he reads a lot. Whatever he's been reading, Warren Buffett has changed his mind. All right. So when crypto market pushed up, I'm trying to figure out the sentiment quickly. Warren Buffett, crypto. So Warren Buffett, because he really hated cryptocurrency. He felt it was like a foolish game. What he's decided to do, which is quite smart, where do I start? There is a big bank, a digital bank, a very, very progressive digital bank in the world. I think it's in Brazil, but it's basically for the global south. And this bank pushes crypto, is very much pro crypto. What Warren Buffett has done, instead of buying Bitcoin, since he was the massive anti-Bitcoin guru, and Bitcoin was gonna look at this headline. Years after calling Bitcoin red poison, Warren Buffett just invested $1 billion into a crypto-friendly bank. So he does what he knows best. Warren Buffett always chases where the money is going to be. So he's put in $1 billion into a crypto-friendly bank that is very bullish for crypto. But what is more interesting about Buffy Buff is 2 years ago when I'm currently doing what's called the Wealthy in 3 Years program. But before the Wealthy in 3 Years program, it used to be called Financial Stock Notes. And basically, I'll tell people what shares, what stocks I'm buying, what cryptos I'm buying, and it's still the same thing. But 2 years ago, I struggled very much. My laptop is very slow today. I struggled very much into trying to ascertain how to own Visa, MasterCard shares, right? As soon as COVID struck, it made sense to me that people are going to be locked in the home. So I could take trades off that, but I actually wanted to buy shares and I couldn't find a good interactive broker that would allow an African like me to purchase shares, right? This is so terrible. I don't know whether my mining dock is slowing down my machines today or what's going on. Right. Long story short, Warren Buffett raised the funds of $1 billion to buy into that crypto friendly bank by selling all his Visa, MasterCard shares, right? So it's literally, I think that's like a declaration. Like if you think about what that means to the financial markets, Visa, Mastercard is pretty much the way we deal with our finances right now, right? I just don't know what the ticker is for Visa, Mastercard. Ticker for Visa, Mastercard. Doesn't matter how much I talk, guys. In 30 minutes, I have to go. Right. So ticker for Visa Mastercard is Visa INC. All right. Cool. Let's try that. I am in Visa. Oh, there. V. There we go. New York Stock Exchange. Right. So he dumped this. He dumped about. I mean, he pretty much raised enough money from selling all his shares in Visa, and he's pretty much saying, "I'm moving away from the usual way of doing finance, and I am disappearing." Visa did very well during COVID, right? Because again, if you go through their stock reports, they saw massive online purchases. We saw e-commerce bloom, drop shipping, Shopify, all these things that rely on people, just buying and purchasing. This is it. Buffett has made a big dump of the stock to get into the crypto thing. So now I understand why some people are just seen as support, right? And they just open from a technical perspective. Russian Defense Ministry says around 10 military convoys have left Crimea after drills. So this is like a back and forth. Last night, the U.S. diplomatic guy said we've done a count, or we can tell for a fact that actually Russia has not started pulling back. Markets started to feel a sense of relief after dropping for almost 2 weeks when Russia agreed to some agreement. Part of that agreement was they would reduce military forces. And yesterday, some diplomats said they have not. In fact, it looks like they've increased. Now, Russia this morning, the defense minister says around 10 military convoys have left Crimea after drills. Right. So it's a back and forth, man. Gold back in favor as Russian Ukraine tensions weigh. This is this morning, right? So gold is going up because gold is a safe haven because the tensions between Russia and Ukraine are back. I'm explaining these things in case there's someone out there who doesn't understand the jargon. Risk on back foot, latest reports stir the pot, right? So risk on the back foot, risk on. Risky assets were doing well. Risk on means I want to invest. I am risk free. I'm not scared. The markets are good. We are risk on. So it says here, risk on the back foot. Back foot means it stopped, right? So that sentiment of everything is good is now on the back foot as the latest reports stir the pot in Russia-Ukraine conflict. So the sentiment of the day is going to be market uncertainty. For intraday traders, the market uncertainty is your governing sentiment because of this Russia stuff. I'll skip that. Ukraine stuff, Bitcoin behaving like gold, whatever. Russian state media also reporting shelling in whatever. Just waking up events, shooting in Ukraine, weighing on results at 6:35 a.m. today. Risk off on the shooting reports out in Ukraine. So at 6 a.m., we were extremely risk off because of what happened in Ukraine. At about 7 a.m., we got further confirmation that risk on is at the back foot. So you can almost tell how markets are going to open today at 9 a.m., right? London session has to literally think about this, right? BA says central banks are a little behind the curve, except the Fed. They're a lot behind. Bank of America says central banks are a little behind. So this is about inflation, the inflation crisis that I've been talking about. So you can see that the war sentiment has caused risk off. Now we've got a central bank, Bank of America, saying central banks across the world, London, are a little behind the curve. So they need to quickly match the inflation thing. And then they say, except the Fed. The Fed is the FOMC, right? Powell. They are a lot behind, right? So we know Powell has to catch up by doing what? Increasing interest rates. Federal Reserve speaks about coming, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. Canada needs to make cryptocurrency as safe as our financial system, calls for regulation. Canada made a big move on crypto as well about 2 days ago, right? They launched in something, Canada and crypto. This is my routine. I spend 30 minutes just doing this, just making sense of the world. Canada enacts Emergency Act, crypto is included. So it's not being banned, it's actually being included in the regulation. Canada sanctions 34 crypto wallets tied to Taka Freedom Convoy. So someone did something naughty with crypto there, right? Etc. Etc. But for the most part, there's a creation of some progress in Canada around crypto. Happy about that. Australia expect the unemployment rate fall into the low 3%, right? So there was a jobs report in the AMs for Australia, or is it just an analyst just giving us his perspective? Let's see. Thursday, there we go. Unemployment. Look at this. See, so I'm now on Forex Live. This is the news at 4:30 a.m. I was awake but meditating, not watching markets. 4:30 a.m. is a time to defend my inner. It's actually 2 a.m. 2:30 a.m. I was actually asleep. Right. So unemployment change, right? They didn't even want to give a forecast, right? They look at this: 12K new jobs created, unemployment rate 4.2, right? So unemployment rate, it did not increase, which is good for the currency. Unemployment change, more jobs were created. Would it be surprising then today if AUD is a little bit strong? That's good for the currency. So now I'm coming back to my heat map. When it comes to AUD, dollar might be weak. So that 15-minute supply that I caught by luck because I set and forget and I sent to the public telegram group and it's all gone. The big embarrassing golfing candle triggered me, and now I am risk-free on that trade, taking profits. I have one trade still on break even. I might get stopped out because it looks like today AUD might be very strong. I mean, it has to be strong because remember, when there is a number positive, where is it? Actually greater than the forecast is good for the currency. Well, this is green. It's good for the currency. AUD can be slightly strong today off this news. And we now know why. So this was at 4 a.m. when this was reported during the Asian session. I'm talking fast because I want to go through some charts. Bank of America refuses to accept Bitcoin. All right, but it doesn't matter. For the most part, banks can choose what they want to do. The sentiment for Bitcoin still holds, as far as I can tell. Right, and I'm going to stop here, guys. But the point is, all of this I read, at 7 a.m. I'm just going through this drill with you, right? You need to keep track of this stuff. If you trade London session, you need to read this before the London session starts. If you trade New York session, you need to read this before the New York session starts. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. What I do is before New York session, my alarm goes on for 30 minutes and I catch up with all the headlines in case there's something that's going to change the risk sentiment for me in the afternoon. Right. So JP Morgan joining in expecting JP Morgan, a massive financial institution, joining in expecting 7 Federal Reserve rate hikes this year. So we've been talking about there's going to be a rate hike on the March the 16th. Well, JP Morgan says there might be 7 of them. That's a big case for dollar bulls. Very strong dollar coming. JP Morgan, just for those of you who don't know, who are not investing, also is one of the first big banks to buy into the metaverse. I saw them last night when I was checking up on my wallet. They literally bought massive property, right? They're investing in the metaverse. That thing isn't going anywhere, right? Biden administration says more Russian troops arrived along the Ukraine border Wednesday. So this was at 1 a.m. today, Thursday, and last night, Biden's administration in South African time was saying, look, man, we are literally seeing more troops coming. Russia is saying, we did remove 10 convoys. Don't worry about these extra guys. So war, the tension for war is there. When the tension for war is there, what are we watching? The oil chart. The oil chart. Oil is going to be bullish today. This is for intraday traders because you guys want trading ideas. This is how. So then you go find your supply and demand. Biden, please for more oil. Please for more oil. But Saudi sticking with Russia. Remember, if there is more oil, you increase the supply of oil. If you increase the supply of oil, the price of oil will go down. If you restrict the supply of oil and oil becomes more precious and precarious to get, the price goes up. Russia wants the price to go up. It turns out that OPEC, one of the biggest oil tycoons, is Saudi. Says Saudi sticking with Russia. I'm not even opening the whole thing. I'm just running off the headlines. Boris and Johnson to talk, that's boring. Morgan Stanley, bullish and long in Euro USD, Euro JPY, and Euro Pound. Be careful about headlines like this, right? Because this is how they get liquidity as well. This is midnight, so I'm going to stop here, right? So just because they say they are bullish does not mean they are bullish today. Let's go through a quick example. Euro USD, why not? Because every single retail trader who's a fundamentalist reading that kind of stuff is going to put a buy order. Right? This is actually a very nice place to be bullish, though. On the weekly, let's see. Right. And we do want to be bullish on Euro USD. And when I say we want to be bullish, I'm not talking about I want to take a buy trade. I have no interest in buying the euro right now, but I would love to see the euro come to me, come to where we're waiting. So these big banks, the people we are learning how to trade, like institutions, are saying, you know what, we're a little bit bullish on Euro JPY, Euro USD on the spot, right? The spot market on the actual exchange rate. And you can see as I quickly go down my drop down arrow from weekly to daily, price created a bullish engulfing candle on Valentine, the day after Valentine's Day this week. For intraday trader, that's important because at the end of the day, your governor is your daily time frame, right? When I drew this trend line for intraday trades in the senior traders program, a lot of them put 1 standard lot size. Those guys are crazy. Like the senior trader program, the lot size is used in there. It makes sense because those guys have gone through the process and their accounts can handle it, right? So we did this here in one of the New York sessions that I was doing with them, and boom, price is still slightly on the high, right? So when these guys say, look, man, we actually are more bullish and long on euro and sport, euro USD, and euro and pound, it is not difficult to see why, right? In the short term, those of you who were with me last year when I was teaching short term, long term of markets, in the short term, it is easy to see why. If I pull out our 365 master trader spreadsheet, we can then start to track a couple of things. So I've added pound USD and all the stuff that they kept from us. But you can see from the last COT report that we received as a swing trader and an intraday trader, this is absolutely crucial because there we go. We have 54% on the long side of things for Euro USD. Am I right? Yeah, 54, almost 55%, and less shots. And in terms of net positions from the last COT order, there is a lot of positive buys. And when it comes to the net change between last week, the 8th of February, and the 1st of February, the very first week of February, there were 9,000 more new buy orders put on the table. So Euro is mapping up, and this bank is saying, look, man, we want Euro to pump, we want Euro JPY, and look, and we're okay with Euro pound. This normally, when they do this, it's for short-term trades because they really just want to sell a little bit high, and they are asking for people to lend them some of their money to push price up somewhere, right? And we know that the accurate selling place for this thing is about 1,16 somewhere in that supply. All right, so I kind of like have a feel of the markets, right? AUD might be slightly strong, but for the most part, we are risk off because of the war. All right, and now it's now 20 past 9, so markets have opened. So then moving forward, we come to charting, which is what we're going to do for the last 10 minutes. And you guys will let me know if this type of stuff is useful, if I should do this every day, because I do it myself anyways. Like I said, this year, I am happy to document everything to help everyone. Right, so we did this together, I think, on Tuesday, and this is it, right? I've got USD, Euro, Pound, CAD, AUD, etc., etc., etc. And I'm looking at these on the daily time frame. As an intraday trader, you really want a good connection with the overall direction of the daily chart so that when you start to find your smaller time frames, you're drilling down nicely, you are really, largely following the direction of where most of the money is going to pull you. You look at the structure from here, whatever the date is, we don't know. Price went up for all these days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about half a month, and then came back down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Almost half of half, right? So half a month price went up, then half of that price came back down, right? An impulse move, a correction. All right, and there's a demand somewhere there, but I just can't draw it because it's not an interactive tool, right? And then price started to go back up, almost to retrace. You have two scenarios here. Let's pull up USD chart, DXY. You have two scenarios here. And the scenarios of how to view this is quite simple in my books. You have daily. So this is what we just saw right now. This is exactly what it looks like. You can look at it like this. You can say price went up for half and half a month, right? Basically from the 13th of January to the end of January, 28th of January, and then came down, right? All right, so you had an impulse correction and then went up, right? And then you've got this going on. So you could, first of all, assume that this is in line with an uptrend, right? Or you could start to worry about the fact that this is a high and this is a lower high. And why would price be making a lower high? And then you could start to wonder what's going on. Now, the way I've taught you how to do this is you always do a clean MTA. So I'm going to go, hey, Bongi, hello. Good to see you. I'm going to quickly go to my weekly time frame. And this is what I noticed last night. I've been ignoring this by mistake. Literally, this is not good. This is not very good for the dollar. It's not harmful for the dollar in the long, as a swing trade in the long term. I couldn't be bothered, right? As a swing trader in the long term, I could not be bothered. But as an intraday trader, the climate is actually very bearish for the dollar right now. All right, you have to remember on the weekly time frame, we finally made contact with a very substantial weekly supply. And then not only did we make contact with the substantial weekly supply, the dollar then also created a new bearish engulfment on the weekly. Now we don't know how I can't even ascertain like if price will hold here. Price is trying to hold here because of how bullish the dollar has been. Okay, but we don't know. If this is back at play, this would be very interesting. But price would have to get here before the 16th of March, which makes sense to me that price would fall just to really go back up. Because, like you saw, JP Morgan is saying 7 interest rate hikes this year. So there's a case for a very strong dollar. Strong means buy means buy low. So the Fed might not be interested in buying as much of the dollar here or strengthening the dollar. They might want to first push it down, which would make sense to why the weekly time frame right now we have this. I will only know all of this weekend when we get the latest CO2 report to see what they've done to their allocation of the US dollar, because right now DXY was sitting quite pretty. They don't have to tank it. They don't have to, increase a lot of shots. All they have to do is to slightly reduce the longs, right? So you can see 1st of February on the dollar with 82% longs. It went up to 85%. So we'll have to see now what's happening on the 15th. The next COT report is for the 15th, which will come out this Friday, right? If they've reduced this number, that would be very telling. That would be absolutely telling. If not, then we simply continue with the program, right? We simply continue with how things have been going. All right, so that's pretty much all you can do. Now, as an intraday trader, you start from daily, and from the daily time frame, you can really see things unfolding. From the daily time frame, you can see that price hit a daily supply, price has been falling. Price is struggling to make it back to this supply, right? So if price is struggling to make it back to this supply, we have a chance, a strong chance for in a downward trend. So all you have to do is plot a Fibonacci. You want to see, was this upwing a retracement? So you do something like that, right? Swing high, swing low. And there it is there. Price made contact with that 50% level that we always talk about, right? A strong retail area for price to start to sell. And surely, the last 3 days of DXY have been in a downward climb. And then you just start to drill down, H4, because you're now looking for opportunities. You're looking for one, a reversal of that or a confirmation of that, right? So I did warn you guys that the charts, this particular DXY chart had arrived at this particular dollar demand right there. And right above it, and let's just make this green as quickly as possible. You let me know if this is helpful. I don't know. I just talk to myself every day about charts. So that's why a morning routine for me is not too crazy. There was this supply there on the dollar, on the H4 time frame. There was also this supply here, which I think the dollar successfully broke, which is welcomed. But then, because there's no supply anymore here, it's broken. This is the highest supply. We now need to track the immediate supply, right, which was somewhere here, which price actually made contact with yesterday. I don't know why this chart, this broker looks very different, like feels different. Let me just go to my normal perspective of the market. There you go. So this is H4 to H4. Right, so these brokers, man, they be feeling these candles differently, but the story is still very much the same. There's a higher supply up here that price made contact with. There is this supply down here, right? This one here that price eventually broke through because we've been pumping up. You saw COT, positive. I don't know what I clicked. but I hope I'm still live because something has gone weird on my side. I don't want banners. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Right. So they price the green demand into a supply. We broke this supply yesterday, but really at the expense of liquidating a lot of positions on sells like Euro USD, AUD USD, because when price went down yesterday on the H4 time frame to seek out the lows, probably an H1 demand, an intraday trader would have tried to enter here. This is it. It's simple. You remember you're in intraday, so you're looking for ultimately the smallest, tightest entry points once you know the direction of price. We found an H4 order block yesterday. I posted on the group, and this is all you needed to do. And then intraday traders have to become the masters of getting out. You don't hold trades like Leroy. You make your money and you move. So you really would have wanted to push from this demand back into this supply, which offered you a 2.5, which I guess for intraday is not too bad. I mean, 1:3 is great, but for intraday, you take what you get because you're compounding on those pips right there. This was a clean trade up, but now that price is removed, right, a supply, and this does not look like a bearish engulfing candle, right? You could hope for a strong movement to the upside in the short term. The question though is, will that happen? I don't know. I'm very much worried about how bearish this thing looks, in the lower time frames. But to get a big sell, we might need to go back up to these highly sensitive daily supplies because somewhere up there might be a required fresh touch, right? This is the see this daily time frame. This is the fresh touch here on the supply. We might get a strong retest, which would meet that weekly engulfment for a sharp push down, and it will be up to this trend line, which has been really good at catching price. This trend line has been really, really good at catching price, etc. Right. I'm teaching too much. We're just here to get the heartbeat of the market. Bitcoin, USD, crypto. I explained the whole Warren Buffett thing. You can see that price is literally struggling to penetrate. A lot of people are worried about if price breaks this. So here's the new sentiment. If price breaks out of this supply, and I don't think people talk in terms of supply in the community there. So I'll show you the price. I'll show you the exact price. If price breaks above 47,000 US dollars, 200, somewhere here, and closes above, right? And then on the smaller time frames opens a new candle, right? Then you're going to see everyone's going to start talking about going back to the moon, right? The reason why we have this supply here is the same one we've been talking about for about 2 weeks now, the institutional supply, which was very much just above that weekly supply that we saw here. So this is the weekly time frame. And I believed thoroughly that price was going to stop here, all right? And I was wrong. Market simply wanted a higher supply on Bitcoin, right? Which literally came down to price literally making this. See here, you have a Talitha area of competition, and price rallied into that, right? So we've seen some market inefficiencies, markets trying to make a push to the upside. But to be honest with you, Bitcoin is just chilling. Like Bitcoin hasn't done much. This Talitha area on the H4 held. Like I was so skeptical. This I didn't believe in it, right? It literally held on. And so if price breaks above that 47,000, then most people will put their money where their mouth is and try and pump Bitcoin up, right? But if price does not do that, right, then I'm still very much open for 37,000, then 20, 33,000, then 20,000 USD, right? That's personally me. Like I haven't changed my mind around this thing. Given the sentiment of things and Ukraine tension coming up, yesterday we saw markets started to prepare us for that before the news cycles came up. I think it was Alvin right now who posted on the public group that with all these ups and downs of news, trust structure. And absolutely, price arrived at a strong H4 supply on the NASDAQ. Price then continued to do what it is supposed to do when it comes to a supply. And so yesterday we made contact with this supply and price fell. The 4666 supply that I think Trevor posted the exact number, but this is it. Yeah. And then price tried to defend at 14,400. I said price might actually be interested in defending at 14,300, right? But you had some ticky blooms. So the whole point is now it really depends on how much market uncertainty is there. But all of this is still at play. All of this is still at play, right? And I regret closing my corporate sell position on the Nasdaq, right? Because after price started to rally strongly here, I assumed we were going to have problems up here. I knew these supplies would get tested, but I thought overall, if Russia really was pulling off, troops, right? Maybe I was in a rush to be very, very positive. I should have kept my sell positions open, right? But it was good. They ran for a good time. So I now literally have nothing invested in Nasdaq. But it's nice to see a bullish demand right here in the face of a bearish supply, right? Sometimes it could be the counter needed, but don't count your chickens before they hatch. I still think 14,300 is very much at play. I still think a deeper retest of this order block, 14,100, 1400 could also be at play. I talked to you guys about this long-term trend line where price is sitting on. Remember, I spoke about this in the war room, that this trend line is extremely, extremely old. If you go to the daily time frame, it's as old as it comes. This trend line here, the last trend line. And if that trend line can't keep price below, then that's good. But if that trend line insists on keeping structure under July 20, another touch in October 20, and our third final strong touch in November 2020, which was a massive demand type of trend line with the election of the removal of Donald Trump, then just be very careful that this market psychology does not play against you, right? If this trend line holds long enough, price will fall. And you can see we still have a long way to go before we make that 20% mark. And I still believe, as long as there's no war, I still believe the stock market will recover within the next 30 days, right? Maybe now we're on 24 days since I say that. I still believe that. Right. So, long story short, guys, that's just my basic routine. Get a good sense of what's strong in the market. USD reacting off that H4 is strong. AUD, good job numbers is strong. Pound, for whatever reason, is strong against the euro, right? I'm literally USD against the euro. USD versus USD is silly. USD versus AUD 0.4%. It's just under, it's not enough to act on, in my humble opinion, right? This is small, but you will have to keep working this out, right? So real quick, on the 1 hour time frame for intraday traders, after seeing all of this stuff, the structure analysis, look, dollar was coming from a downward trend on the H1 time frame and is now slowly trying to break. If the dollar doesn't create a higher high here, you have a problem, right? Because that downtrend will continue. The opposite then becomes true for euro. While you have a downtrend here on H1, you have an uptrend on euro and then a retracement down. If euro doesn't close lower than here to create a lower low, you can best believe that uptrend will continue, which then makes it logical to assume the downtrend on the dollar will continue, right? So just be careful of these things. AUD, look at that. That was the 15-minute tap supply I'm talking about. Price dropped, and now price is slowly trying to fill. It could be coming to retest that bearish order block. Then you could get more sell side. If that's the case, then dollar will be strong, etc., etc. Right, but for the most part, that's it. This is kind of like your everyday life. If you're into crypto, then you have to start off with Bitcoin. Once you see the general direction of Bitcoin, you want to then start to understand what the classics are doing. So I'll do H4, H1 quickly for you before I disappear. Right, so this is Bitcoin H4. We've got a Talitha area trading sideways, slightly to the downside, because markets don't know what to do. It makes a lot of sense, right? Bitcoin is just waiting for clarity, all right? But all of this is not a sign of strength. It's not a sign of strength for the bulls. I can tell you that right now. But it's also not necessarily a sign of weakness for the bears, right? Price is just accumulating. This any type of range is an accumulation. And with crypto, most of the time, most accumulation is for an upside push, right? With crypto, normally with crypto, right? But anything can go here. This is just a short-term range on the 1 hour, difficult and very terrible to trade. Unless if you're into support and resistance, and then they'll use it for resistance, for liquidity. Sorry. A much more clearer range would be Ethereum on the 1 hour time frame. Still got the same problematic structures as Bitcoin, a strong supply right above, right there on the daily. And we know if you follow my teachings, module one, a strong bearish engulfing supply with a beautiful imbalance pointing, to hell. Like this is literally a massive point to hell. And it gives you a quick, fresh touch with a bearish engulfing pattern what you generally should be worried about. If there isn't a big sentimental push, right, what you should be worried about when structure looks like this is that this is very much at play, right? I know everyone is very bullish on crypto right now. I know that. I know I sound crazy, and I hope I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, my investments, benefit. But if I'm right, I get to then act soberly, like all that's happened. There's been a bearish engulfing pattern, a potential retest, and depending how this week ends for Ethereum and the markets in general. Remember, I said to you guys on Monday, Russia needs to invade Ukraine this week. If I don't want them to, I don't want a war. Please don't start posting me all over saying I want war to make money off the markets. No, no, no. I'm saying how markets are thinking through this thing. If by Saturday, Sunday, there isn't an invasion, markets will ease off. They'll be like, okay, fine, this is just a bluff to keep pumping. Understanding. Now, if it happens that they don't invade and this format on Ethereum lasts, this structure lasts, right, and we actually get a bearish engulfing pattern, then we could assume that our base cycle will slowly start to come to an end. We can only assume that. But if something happens between now and Saturday and this candle does not close, this is a weekly time frame, by the way, on Friday, it doesn't close as bullish as it's starting out to look right now, then we have problems. You will notice that the Ethereum chart, both on weekly and on daily, has been so much easier to read than the Bitcoin chart, right? The Bitcoin at a lower supply here that got broken. If you look at the Ethereum chart on the daily time frame, it didn't even waste your time giving you such a fake signal, right? It was always clear that price was going to pump higher. So this will be a very good indicator for sensitivity right now in the markets. Apart from that, guys, generally speaking, I now have enough information to know what the day is going to look like. There's not much more to do. So I'm happy to end the live stream here. Keep learning, keep studying. I hope this helps you. You really, really, really want to trade in line with what markets think, right? So since the London session has opened in the last 30 minutes, we can do one more last quick refresh to see the latest headline. But for the most part, I'm sure it's still the same. Satellite images show Russia has pulled back some equipment from near UK. So this is the latest. So there's someone using a satellite. It's called the Maxa satellite. Images show Russia has pulled back some. Right. So honestly, look, man, I hate trading news, right? So the sentiment is just going to be mixed. It's going to be mixed, man. Russia is in, Russia is out, Russia is in, Russia is out. And all in all, if you really want to know the end of it, is I don't think this is going to come to an end. Personally, I was telling my senior traders yesterday, I have no belief that it's going to come to an end up until we get a clear path to 100 US dollars per barrel. Fundamentally, Saudi Arabia has refused to make more oil. That's also quite clear. So I have no problem assuming that markets are going to try and maintain this tagline up until we get in there into that rate. And once we do that, we have big problems. The recession has to start. Oil has never been at above $100 per barrel, and we not fall into a recession, right? Prices for everything are going up. I thought I'm just following American markets. Yesterday, we actually got out of the house and I spent the afternoon with my family. And like, my partner is about to do another big event for little kids, etc. And all the suppliers were getting stuff from yesterday. I promise you, everything is just going up. Things are going crazy. So if this happens, I mean, we're about $8 away, right, from oil being a barrel, which is quite a journey. It's not an easy jump, right, from 92 US dollars per barrel to $100. It's not an easy jump. It's going to take a lot of push, a lot of convincing. But look at the structure, extremely parabolic, right? If we're trading normally, all extremely parabolic structures in oil have to get filled back, right? Markets have to come back to demand. Extremely parabolic, you have to get filled back, right? Look at this structure now when oil was trying to recover. In order to avoid a massive pullback, price would create stairs, right? Stairs, specifically sideways trading to strengthen the structure. Buy order blocks to make sure that bulls don't push price below this barrier here. So this is a nice psychological place for oil. The $60 barrier is where oil does not ever want to come back below. And you can see they've got strong structural order blocks holding the pole. But after that, all these no pauses, no consolidations, rallies were sold back. Big rally, sold back. So this is an interesting strong rally, and Leroy cannot wait to buy it back, right? right? Because I know it's going to get sold at some point. But my thinking is maybe $100 is really, really a big target for these guys right now. Right, everybody? Hope this helped. 365, we went over 30 minutes by just a little bit. Yeah, so I'll cut it here. Have a good day. Happy trading. Stay safe. Peace.